Hey Flag fans, I'm Gray, and welcome back to Flag Facts. Today's show is all about one of the earliest flags used by the American Navy, the Appeal to Heaven flag. Once considered one of the more obscure flags of the American Revolution, the Appeal to Heaven flag has seen an increase in popularity in recent years. But where did it come from? Well, its story starts here, in the forests of New England. The symbol of a pine tree was widely used in the colonies, particularly in New England. The earliest example of which can be seen here on the seal of the Massachusetts Bay Colony from 1629. As time went on, the pine tree grew to represent New England as a whole, and it began to appear on flags used in the region. Most often, it was incorporated into the British red ensign, either occupying the top left quarter or the entire canton itself. The oldest surviving colonial flag, known as the Southold flag, is an example of such a design, and it dates back to the late 1600s. Pine trees were an incredibly important resource for the colonies, in large part because they were a critical shipbuilding component for the Royal Navy. By the end of the 1600s, Britain had few trees left that were big enough to be used as masts, so laws were passed that reserved all the white pine trees of a specific size for the king. The colonists resented these laws, and many continued to harvest the trees. In New Hampshire, one such law was passed in 1722 that made it illegal to cut down any white pine measuring 12 inches or more. However, the law was not really enforced until 1766, when John Wentworth was appointed as governor. This later led to an uprising in 1772 that became known as the Pine Tree Riot. In April of 1772, a man named Ebenezer Mudgett was arrested after his sawmill was found to be in violation of the law. Rather than pay his fine, Mudgett instead gathered a group of men and attacked the sheriff and deputy that had arrested him. The rioters were later charged for their crimes, though their punishment was light as the judges in their case agreed that the pine tree laws were oppressive and unfair. Some have also suggested that the incident inspired the Boston Tea Party and helped set the stage for the Revolutionary War. And speaking of the Revolutionary War, that brings us back to the American Navy. On October 13, 1775, the Continental Congress authorized the creation of the Continental Navy. And when you have ships, you need flags. A few days later, on October 20th, George Washington's secretary, Colonel Joseph Reed, wrote a letter to Colonel John Glover suggesting that the first 6 ships commissioned by the Continental Congress needed a flag so that their vessels may know one another, saying, "What do you think of a flag with a white ground, a tree in the middle, and the motto, Appeal to Heaven? This is the flag of our floating batteries." Today we know that flag as the Appeal to Heaven flag, or as the Washington Cruisers flag. So, that explains the pine tree, but what about the motto? The phrase, "an appeal to heaven," can be traced back to the British political philosopher John Locke. Locke's work was well known in the colonies, and would even go on to influence the Declaration of Independence. In his second treatise of government, Locke wrote, "And where the body of the people, or any single man, is deprived of their right, or is under the exercise of a power without right, and have no appeal on earth, then they have a liberty to appeal to heaven, whenever they judge the cause of sufficient moment." Many colonists justified the conflict with such reasoning, as they felt they had exhausted their worldly diplomatic avenues, which left them only with the choice to fight and appeal to heaven, that God may be on their side. The flag would go on to be used throughout the war, and it was even adopted by the Massachusetts Council for its own state navy. The pine tree itself would continue to be seen as a symbol of New England, and was later featured on the first flag of Maine. And that brings us to today. For much of its history, the flag was not well known outside of historical circles, though that has begun to change. Recently, the flag has gained a new popularity within the Christian nationalist movement in the United States, largely as a result of its promotion by a man named William Dutch Sheets, a leading figure in a movement known as the New Apostolic Reformation. It has also been widely used by supporters of former President Donald Trump, and was one of several Revolutionary-era flags flown by rioters at the January 6th attack on the US Capitol in 2021. In May of 2024, the flag made national headlines when it was reported that it had been flown at a home owned by US Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. The report came just days after it was reported that an inverted US flag, another symbol used by the Stop the Steal movement, was flown at his home in January of 2021. Given the association of the flags with the effort to overturn the 2020 election, This caused quite a bit of controversy and raised questions about the meaning of the Appeal to Heaven flag. So what do you think? Has the meaning of the flag changed? Is it a good design? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're down there, be sure to like and subscribe for more flag-related content just like this. If you're in the market for an Appeal to Heaven flag, or any other flag, head on over to FlagandBanner.com for all your flag flying needs. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time on Flag Facts.